What's up, guys? Before we get into the episode, I want to let you know we are finally doing our first merch drop at the Unlaced podcast. It's taken us about 100 shows to get there, but we finally have a couple of t-shirts and this beautiful hat that I'm wearing coming to you in the next few weeks. Now, this is going to be an exclusive range. There's not going to be a whole heap of units. So if you guys want to get in quick, there is a link in the episode here. Put in your details. Give yourself the best opportunity to get one of these tees. This is the white faded bony heavy tee. I'm calling it the smiley tee. It's got some of the sayings from the show on the back. And of course, one of my favorites, probably the favorite, is the humanized tee. These are a bit heavy, oversized type t-shirts. You'll absolutely love them. Get amongst them early. I love you all for the support. Let's get into the episode. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Unlaced podcast. If you are new here, thank you for turning up. And if you've come back again, as I always say, I love you. I've been so excited for this show today for a long time. And I reckon I hit this specific person up a long time, years ago, maybe even before I started this journey, saying, hey, you're definitely someone I would love to have on the show. But logistics weren't sort of on our side then, so we couldn't do it. And now I'm 3 coffees deep, and Ljubo Milicevic, who's here with me today, is about 6 deep. So we're radiating.
Just for you. just for this podcast.
I know.
Not the fact that it was just logistics, but I've refused to talk. I mean, not refused. I don't think I'm that interesting or anyone even wanted to talk to me anymore, but I haven't spoken publicly for about 7 years, I think.
It's crazy. And when you said that to me before, I'm like, shit, man, because I reckon a lot of people are going to be really interested in what you say because I know you know.
Be a letdown there.
No, because your journey's pretty crazy. Like,
yeah.
I was thinking, I'm like, how do I introduce you? I'm like, you're an ex-pro footballer, you're a restaurateur, you're a model, you're a barista. Yeah. I'm like, what, is there anything else I've left off?
Oh, man. I don't know. I think it's just the beginning, to be honest. Yeah. That's where I would start with my own intro. Is like life has sort of just begun. Yeah. You know, I feel like we all live many lives. I definitely have lived a few, and moving back to Melbourne 2 months ago, this is the beginning of the next phase for me.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, for those that don't know, we'll definitely go into it, but Ljubo's career was second to none. The one thing we do have in common is we both played for the junior national teams, and you were like a captain for the Socceroos and young Socceroos, but you played a couple of years in the NSL, and then Ljubo rocketed straight into Europe, where he's playing European football. He was captaining clubs at like 24, 25, playing for the Socceroos in what would be probably the golden generation era, that 05, 06.
Yeah, trying to sneak into the team however I could. But yeah, I was part of that squad, I think our greatest generation, to be honest.
And people now know you that have met you in probably the last 10, 15 years, don't even associate that with you. Yeah. Like that you're famous for other reasons now. And I'm like, what?
Not just a big head.
Yeah, I'm like, how does that happen?
Why is that guy's head so big?
Yeah,
is it his ego or is it just big?
Yeah, so I was like, fuck, that's crazy. So I was excited to come on because I wanted to talk to you about the soccer stuff, but I wanted to start.
I told you that I don't want to though.
Yeah. yeah, that was the catch. Yeah, that was the catch. But no, the last like 10 years, what I think you've done so well is you've detached from being a footballer. Like you've gone to the other side.
Yeah.
And you've really like...
Not always willingly. I just had nowhere else to go. And I think football was tired of me, to be honest, or I was tired of it.
Man, well, because what I struggled with was like, I followed you on Instagram when you were living in Bondi. And I want to go into this because my view of you was that you're an ex-pro footballer. You were quite opinionated, a bit of a polarizing character, but like super talented. And then I look at you from the Bondi perspective. I'm like, man, this guy's like very spiritual, very like down to earth, very calm. And I'm like, what happened? Like, did you just kind of, when you came out of football, had a new lease of life or?
I think it's always been there, like a spiritual side. I think we've all got it within us. It's just a place of love, really. And self-love is more important than any other love that you could give anyone. And I guess towards the end, going through all kinds of shit internally, the only way I survived was to find that inner peace. And that allowed me sort of to confront my, I don't want to say demons, but to confront things that were holding me back, you know? I think as humans, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. Being a pro athlete, even more so than being a public figure, it all compounds. And so that phase of my life, me kind of, I say running away, but it wasn't that. It was more like I needed to go to Bondi to kind of just recalibrate. because no one cares there. All they care about is the sand, the sun, and the surf. So it suited me fine.
Yeah, you were at the beach every day. You were getting orange, man.
Yeah.
Your skin was leather some summers, bro. I just remember.
Definitely had a sponsorship with Reef Oil and Keratin at different times.
Yeah.
Everyone's begging me to go get my skin checked. I know. I know I'm not a good, but it was my time to sort of just be. For a long time, I was striving for excellence, and it caused me all kinds of grief and joy. And then when I was done, I was really done. I made a few appearances during the World Cup when I first, I think SBS or Optus, would have been Optus actually. When I first got there, I was in the green room one day and I was like, I actually just don't want to talk about football anymore. I don't find it interesting.
Yeah.
I do catch highlights. I love seeing Australia do well, especially the Matildas right now. I love seeing the Aussie boys do well, obviously because of my Croatian blood. Always very fond of watching them do well in World Cups and European Cups as well. But I just didn't want to be involved day to day anymore.
Yeah. I just want to touch on Matildas before I sort of go into how I first knew about you, because I think it's quite funny. But just to go on the Matildas, because I saw you actually repost about them, like it's pretty crazy to think what the women's game's doing to the country right now, don't you think?
Yeah, it's incredible, and they deserve all the accolades, the press, the exposure, the attention. But more than anything, they deserve the government to start funding them and soccer like they do the rest of the sports and the codes. Everyone else has got purpose-built stadiums, infrastructure, and we don't. Yeah. If this isn't glaringly obvious to them now, then I don't know when it will be. It's nice for Channel 7 to jump on board. They've raised the level of exposure to a whole nother level, obviously. But we need that to continue after the World Cup. It's no good if it dissipates again, When Johnny scored that penalty, everyone thought that was going to create momentum, and it was going to create, a lot of change for the game. But without investment, there is no change. Yeah. And that's the reality. I played in Europe for a long time, and all these national teams that you see are doing really well, and all these clubs that produce players, and why they're doing well is because of the investment and nothing else.
It's so true. I just did a post on it before. And you know why? I think because we're used to it, people who have known football in this country for the last 20 years or longer are used to the fact that where everyone's arcing up now at the government to do something while the iron's hot, because we know post-World Cup, it gets forgotten about. Like back from when the 05 team qualified, which I'll go into because I think you just missed out on the squad.
Yeah, well, I was on the bench that day when Johnny scored the penalty.
Yeah, you were there, running on the field, you and Archie. It's a famous photo.
Yeah. And then, I don't know, they picked someone else. Life goes on. I went to Cannes for the film festival instead.
I love him.
I had 2 bank cards. I was like... Champions League bonus gone, but hey, memories to this day.
Did you ever think you would see the women's game in our country at the level it is now in your lifetime?
I don't think anyone necessarily can predict the future, and no one would have seen what's going on right now. No one can predict they would have made the semi-final and had the results they're having, and for the nation to embrace them. But, I think Aussies love sport, and there is enough to go around for everyone. It'd just be nice if the pie was divided a little bit more evenly so that the women can be supported and don't need to have jobs on the side to play professionally in this country. The girls that are playing overseas are obviously well looked after, but our code in Australia, they're probably where we were in our NSL days, where a lot of them had part-time jobs and they can't survive just off what they're earning from their clubs. Yeah. That needs to change ASAP. Like, look at us now. We're a top 4 nation in the world.
It's mental.
We've broken all kinds of records for the World Cup. It's even FIFA would have to say they've never had a World Cup hosted the way that Australia has now. And if we don't fund it in a required or necessary way, then how do we have a hope of hosting the men's World Cup? Because they see all of that. If it's treated as a third-rate or second-rate game, then how are we going to convince the powers to bring the biggest sporting event the world has got to this country, which is the World Cup?
Yeah, it's massive. And people, I think, what's amazed me is people that don't even watch football or soccer in this country are hanging on to like their TV sets.
Yeah, Aussies love all codes. Like we all love AFL. We grew up in Melbourne. I'm a Saners fan. And
hey, me too.
Yeah, grew up in Rabin, and no different to when I was in Newcastle playing for the Jets. All of a sudden, I'm supporting the Knights. Yeah. We've got love for one and all.
Yeah, it's true. You know what? I've really enjoyed getting to know you over the last few months.
Yeah.
Lubo's got this trend where he goes, I don't know how long you've been doing it for, because I feel like you would have been naturally doing it in Bondi, but like going into a sauna, into the ocean before the sun's up, kind of. And I've done it with you a few times now. We've had some great conversations, but the feeling I've been getting when I drive home after it, I'm like, man, I'm ready to attack.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go today.
Well, it's getting used to the uncomfortable. And if you start your day that way, then anything after that becomes easier.
Yeah.
It's training your mind to be ready. I haven't always been on top of it. Obviously, I'm not superhuman, but I'm in a place right now where I can't exist or I can't function without starting my day in that way. So even if it's 5 minutes, it's 5 minutes, but I'm telling myself that I'm ready for the day.
Yeah. So like what I really love about being around you is I feel like the rookie in the room. So I'm do you know what I mean? Like, so I'm constantly, wait till Archie comes and then I won't feel like the rookie. But no, like, we have such deep conversations, and it's like a lot of the time I'm left, like when I drive off, I'm like thinking about what you've said, and which I really enjoy.
Well, you're currently the only person who's listening to me.
Yeah, but it's funny though, right? Because for everyone back home, like, there's a moment that stands out to me, and I hope you don't mind me sharing this story, but when you played for South Melbourne, and you're going to remember what I bring up here, but when you went to Oakley Cannons one day, and I was a 12, 13-year-old, maybe younger, and the reserves game's just finished, the senior players are turning up. Lubo's got this very small stint at South before he's figuring out what he's doing, whether he goes back overseas or not. And you didn't have your accreditation on you. And as you were walking in, the poor lady there, like, she kind of must have known who you were, but like trying to follow protocol. And she's like, oh, like, fuck it, just go in. Yeah. And then the famous owner of Oakley, Aki, who's big boy, by the way, and that adds to this story a little bit, tried to make like a bit of a stand, say, nah, like, get your accreditation, you can't come in. And you guys were going at it, like having a dig at each other, calling each other like whatever names. And I need you to explain the end of this story, because
I wasn't calling anyone anything, just I walked in with my headphones on. He was waiting for me. I had disco playing in my ears, and I just gave him a peace sign and kept walking.
Yeah.
I knew what he was up to.
So he was, because he was trying to get under your skin.
He'd been prank calling me all week. Oakley wanted to sign me. They offered me a terrible, terrible offer. I ignored his calls. And after that, he was calling me 100 times. It got to the point where I started answering saying, this is Pizza Hut. What would you like?
Oh, okay. Because what I heard is the way this ended, he was like, not going to say harassing you, but he kind of made a stance against you. And then
so what happened there at the gate? Yeah. So the whole week he's prank calling me, and I keep answering like it's it's pizza delivery.
He's a big boy.
Then I walk through and I get pinned up by the security against the fence.
This is what I saw.
These big Fijian Samoan boys pinning me against the fence.
Yes.
Eddie Krincevic comes over, who was coach, former national team player, pioneer of our game, pays my entry just to stop it all. But unbeknownst to me, word spread throughout the week that I kept answering my phone saying it's Pizza Hut.
Oh.
I go into the change rooms, carry on, we're getting ready. Everyone's like, what the fuck's going on? And I'm just like, whatever, welcome to the Ljubo show.
Yeah.
On kickoff, 10 pizzas arrived. The South Melbourne fans had got word, delivered 10 pizzas at kickoff time. They found him in the club rooms, dropped it on his desk.
Oh my God. See, I heard that you made that call.
I wish. I'm not that cheeky.
Oh, dude, I thought that was smart. I thought that was genius. It's like, what a comeback. Here's 10 pizzas. So I got the most of that story. That was the kicker. The 10 pizzas arrived to him.
I've got better things to do. But then for the whole first half, he just abused me from the sidelines. He just didn't. And, it's unfortunate. For whatever reason, I figure he's got good intentions there somewhere. He's supported the game for a long time, but obviously I aggravated him that day.
Can you imagine me? I'm like 11 years old. I'm seeing you pinned up against the wall. Then I'm hearing this story about 10 pizzas. Now I'm sitting with you in the ocean and we're talking about energy transfer and shit. And I'm like, life moves, man. Life changes.
Yeah, you transform over time. And I guess that's why also I pulled away from soccer a bit, because it's just a heightened environment and I didn't want to be that person anymore. I can't go for a five-a-side kick because you're automatically targeted. Yeah. People release on the field, they release in the stadiums, whether they're playing or whether they're supporters. And I just don't want to take my energy there.
Yeah.
I don't think it's beneficial to me anymore.
Did people like in and around Bondi kind of ever associate you with soccer?
Not necessarily, no. My closest friends obviously knew, but I didn't talk about it. I haven't talked about it for years, so they just wouldn't tap into that.
Yeah.
We talk about music, fashion, I don't know, the sauna or anything else. It didn't matter, but that was never a conversation topic. And so a lot of people there didn't know. No.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
They knew me from Porch and Parlour. They knew me from that, hit spot cafe on the corner. That's where I sort of embedded myself in, and that was it. I was just the corner shop guy. And that's what I wanted to be. I just wanted to be part of the community. I hadn't spent longer than a year in any city that I'd lived in since the age of 17. So when I arrived in Bondi, it was necessary for me to have stability and community. I think without that, we're all lost.
Yeah, which in football, you get used to kind of being a gypsy in a sense, because it's not in your control.
You've got no choice.
You've got no choice, man.
It's very unstabling, ungrounding. You've got no anchor. So it can be tough when you're going through times of struggle.
How did you, because you seem like you really succeeded and thrived when you were in Switzerland and that sort of early part of your European career. But at the same time, was that difficult being young overseas, or did you kind of really relish that in a sense?
Well, yes and no. I did my knee. I was meant to end up playing in Germany.
Which club was supposed to sign you? Apparently a powerhouse.
Hertha Berlin.
Yeah, so I heard that.
I did my knee early. I did my knee in the first game of the World Youth Cup, captaining Ange Postecoglou's side. Missed out on $1 million deal, ended up in Switzerland for half the cash, got cheated out of $500,000, was left in a hotel room for a year, getting changed in the second team change room. To give you an idea, so when you talk about success and thriving, it wasn't that.
Yeah.
But I was so stubborn to the point of being crazy. I did not want to return home until I made it. And I don't know what that means, but in my mind, it was like, you're staying until you're playing and you're a regular. So it took me 2 years to play. I arrived injured. I needed a groin operation to get over the fact that I was compensating for my right knee. Finally started playing again. Left FC Zurich because they treated me poorly. Joined Basel. Scott Chipperfield and Ivan Ergic were there at the time. I just needed to feel like I was amongst family and friends again. Anyway, without going into all of it, I stuck it out. And the reward was there. Was later when I was playing for FC Thun, we qualified for Champions League, and that those moments will never be forgotten. Or even the Champions League run with Basel, even though I didn't play, we're playing against Juventus, Manchester United, Liverpool. I'm traveling around Europe. It was a dream come true. But to dream, you also have to have the realization that life's about polarity. So there's going to be nightmares as well.
Did you play Champions League?
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
To up that, didn't you captain?
Yeah, captain the team in Europe, played against the Invincibles, which was Arsenal's team at Highbury the last year that they
so you
had
captained in the Champions League against the Invincibles?
Yeah, well, in that game, yeah.
The lad from Moorabbin.
Thierry Henry, Bergkamp fouled me. They scored a goal last minute. Coach accused me of trying to dribble out of the back, which I do, but not on that occasion.
That's how you ended it wrong.
And I told him in no uncertain terms in front of the whole team what I thought of him. As if I would be trying to dribble out of defence in the 89th minute at Highbury.
Yeah, you're not that stupid.
If you watch the replay, he clearly pushes me over and I fall over the ball. But, it's Champions League first round. Arsenal 1-1 at home. I think it was more important for them to win than it was for us to draw.
I'm just going to really ask a dumb question, but this is main of football. Just wanting to know, how good is the level of Champions League football?
Oh, it's incredible. It's everything I ever dreamed of, and I was shitting myself walking out there.
What's the biggest difference, though, from say playing?
It's just all intuitive, At that level, I think everyone's touch is always where it's meant to be. You move cohesively as a unit, and that's why those teams, like Barcelona, obviously back then Arsenal were very much what Barca is all about. They move as one. Every coach would like their team, or to act as one, and everyone's on the same page. So I guess that's what you notice the most.
Yeah,
nothing's by chance. It's not coincidence.
So with some of these young players that are leaving Australia now, we see a lot of them come back to the A-League that necessarily don't progress, but they go over there with big talent and big sort of expectations, quite similar to you. It's interesting how you said that you didn't really have success until 2 years in. So I
was injured. I was left.
I was left in the rubble. Physically play.
I was left in the rubble. No one was interested. But I was that stubborn, and with that came resilience, that I just didn't want to return.
Do you reckon though that's what we're missing in some of it? Do you reckon people should be toughing it out?
I don't know, mate. I cause myself all kinds of mental anguish. Still suffering.
I love his honesty.
Still suffering a twitch today because of it. I don't know. I can't say what's right or wrong for anyone. That was my journey.
Yes.
You know? I think a few of the boys going over now are extremely talented, but it's not given to you. You know, you're taking someone's spot. And back then, the A-League wasn't what the A-League is, and we weren't playing in Asia either. We weren't offered $1 million deals to go play in China back then. Pretty sure I would have taken a couple mil.
You would be worth some coin now.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't. The boys that have gone and played in like the Middle East and Asia, what you think I would have said no to 3 or 4 million?
Yeah.
I said no to, you know, a decent offer in China so that I could play for Hajduk Split towards the end of my career. Hajduk Split is where my family's from. Well, Split is where my family's from in Croatia. Wow. Playing for Hajduk meant a lot to me. And I said no to a bigger offer then, but it wasn't in the millions. The difference was maybe a few $100,000. I don't think, you know, when people cast aspersions or judgment on athletes taking a paycheck or taking a payday, I think they're coming from a point of view that they don't understand how short-lived one's career is and how hard it is to get there. And at different points in time, you're making decisions to look after your family.
It's so true,
It's no longer about the accolades or prestige. It's actually like, oh, this is my investment fund.
Yeah, it's less than 10% of your life, your career, almost. Like that's how short it is. It's pretty true. I think you'll appreciate me saying this now because you've been through a lot of shit in your life, but I think you're in like a really beautiful place right now, aren't you?
Yeah.
Like with what you're doing, like your career now, everything, where you're at in life too, like just like with your whole sort of outlook, I think you're in a really good spot.
Definitely, yeah. I've moved on. You know, I've let go. I've learned to appreciate the small things. Sometimes in that like high-paced, adrenaline-filled life, you're looking for kicks all the time, and unless you're getting those big pats on the back, you don't feel like you're living. So you're sort of always racing. I don't anymore. I fell into hospitality. Now I'm embracing it. It's my career. I'm part of a beautiful restaurant called The Beverly in South Yarra. Good friends of mine, Cam, Marco and Lockie opened it up about 3 months ago. A new Cam from Bondi. And now I'm part of, you know, this I feel like it's a new hospitality group. I think it's going to be the first of many. And it's a joy for me. It's inspiring to have purpose again. Yeah. In a wholly different world, you know, to be learning again.
Man, I watch you at work. You're like a natural. I call you a restaurateur.
Yeah.
I think, is that the right word?
Restaurateur.
I knew you correctly.
It's like reading the room is no different, I feel, to reading the field.
Yeah.
You know, there are certain plays and systems in place. As long as you've got that awareness or spatial awareness. Yeah. And I guess I feel for people's energy, you can always sort of make a difference, you know, on the field and in a restaurant. So I guess that's why I'm there.
When did you start going into the hospitality game? Was it Bondi, pre-Bondi?
Yeah, Bondi. I moved there and walked into my mate's cafe and just said, give me a job. I'm happy to be a waiter. You know, I don't want to know. Don't talk about football with me. Don't let anyone know that I play football.
Were you in a bad spot when you were doing this?
No,
or was it
I just got there and just wanted to be away. I just wanted to rock up and do whatever hours I needed to do and then finish work 1 or 2 and go to the beach. Yeah. And that's what I did basically for the last 6 years.
Your Instagram was like the life.
Jeez.
It was the life.
Oh, man.
You'd have a book at the beach by 1:30 p.m. every day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fucking hell. Yeah. Like this guy.
Until I got bored of myself. I was like, I'm running out of things to say. And it's like, no wonder, dude. You're not doing a whole lot. You know, I mean, I say that in a self-deprecating way. Like, obviously, I've always had interesting people pass through my life. Bondi's an international port as such. And so it's always been full of color. But I felt like I was ready to start pushing again, striving for more, whatever that may be. It's nice to be part of a group that's, you know, so driven to achieve a lot more than what they already are.
Yeah. You definitely don't name drop, and I don't want to make you, but like the people that you've become friends with and some of the people that you've met that have passed through Bondi.
Friends with me. Mate.
Yeah. Like, do you know what I mean? Like I think you might have mentioned someone's wedding you went to recently, but like just the amount of like A-grade status people that are in love with you from their experience in Bondi in a short-lived time is fucking unbelievable.
Know, they all probably feel sorry for me. Like, look at that guy. Look how big
is there any that you can say? Is there any that you can say?
What, like people that are like in my crew?
Who was the one you told me about the wedding the other?
Well, I think I don't know, it might be out there, but obviously during that time I became really good mates with Joe Jonas.
Yeah, Joe Jonas.
He was one of the voice coaches. He walked into the cafe one day and we hit it off, and 6 months later or maybe a year it was, I'm going to his wedding, the only Aussie to go to he and Sophie Turner's wedding in the south of France. And I'm not going to go on about everyone who was there and all the rest of it.
Right, you're just making coffee, man. You're at the south of France.
Yeah, south of France. It was incredible. The wedding was incredible. They're beautiful people. They're touring Australia next year at the beginning of March. So I've already taken 2 weeks off work. I'm going on tour. Whether or not they want me or not, no one's invited me. I'm just like self-imposing myself. That's what I do. That's why people are my mates. They're like, he's not let go, and that's my leg. Oh well, here he is.
Yeah, he's back.
Make us a coffee. Yeah. I think the life that I've led, I can understand what people are going through, regardless of who it may be. And they may be famous, they may be infamous. It doesn't matter. I'm always coming from a place of kindness.
Yeah.
If you're kind to me, I'll be kind back. If you take an interest in me, I'll take an interest back. And I think that's what life's about. It's all about human connection. And so I sort of try to hang on to the ones that add a little bit of colour or life to my life, because I think we all need it.
Hey legends, just a quick break in this episode to thank our partners, Dabble, the gambling agency, where you dabble socially and gamble responsibly. Please only bet what you can and are willing to lose. Now, Dabble is one of the great platforms out there. I absolutely love using it. Very similar to Instagram, where you can follow some of the head honchos in the different sports, copy their bets and get some good wins on the board. Now, fortunately for me, I've been working with Dabble for over a year. This year, we are doing a stream every Tuesday night. It's called Jake's Take. It's from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. where you can go in the Dabble app. You can join me. We get guests on every week. We bet on the dogs. We have an absolute ball, and they're talking about sport and cutting up the shop around what's going around town across all codes. So come on down, check it out. Dabble socially, gamble responsibly, and let's get back into the episode. I'm glad you brought up the sort of perspective around energy, because we've spent a lot of time in the water talking about this, and that you leave me thinking. And
I'm actually trying to run away from you when I'm in the water.
I know. You're probably thinking this
guy's draining.
At this point, I'm like, fuck, what am I giving back here?
I invited him, but I didn't really invite him.
Yeah.
I'm going to go in the water. You probably can't swim.
I actually can't swim that well either.
The whole energy thing, and without trying to sound too spiritual.
Well, energy transfer, you're big on, and I just want you to explain that to people.
Oh, look, I burnt out numerous times in my life because I was racing through life, and by doing that, I was constantly giving, not necessarily receiving. I wasn't able to receive because I was never still enough. When I finally pulled myself out of my darkest hole, which was at the end of my career, and I went to my parents and I hid away from the world for a couple of years, I realized the only way I'm going to survive is if I go into self-preservation mode. And so through that, or to explain it a little bit further, we all have our moments where we hang out with people, and some elevate or lift us up, and others, for whatever reason, and it's not intentional, but they may be bringing us down. I've become, I don't want to say cutthroat, but I've become aware of that and the effect people have on me at different times. Yeah. I see over 2,000 people a week in the job that I'm doing at the Beverly. I don't have too much left over. Also, I want to be able to give the best of me every time, or as much as I can. So in my spare moments, if I feel like I'm walking away and I'm somewhat down too many times in a row, then I won't look to hang out with you in the future too many times. Yeah. I need to look after myself. I don't ever want to burn out again. I don't want to disappear from the face of the earth the way I did in my past. And the only way I can do that is being aware of my energy, because we're all matter. Like, we're all giving and receiving, And there are times where you're there for your buddies and they're going through stuff, but there are times where you have to be there for yourself because you're going through things. So for me, it's, a swim in the bay in the morning, it's flotation tanks, it's yoga, it's meditating. Oh man,
the flotation tanks. You swear by them, eh?
I love it. I don't know. I think I'm like a spaceman. Yeah. I come out of there and I feel like...
Tell me? What was the statistic around it? It's like 4 hours of sleep?
They say it's like 1 hour in there is the equivalent of 4 hours of sleep. It's a self-deprivation, sensory deprivation chamber.
Okay.
So it's got like the benefits are countless. You'll get a better description online than what I'm giving you right now, but I just walk out of there every time and I feel rejuvenated, and that's enough for me, placebo effect or otherwise. And so there are a bunch of things like that I do for myself, and I need to do for myself, and without it I don't think I would, I don't exist, or I'm at least not being the person I want to be.
Do you know, like, it's because I don't think people are very cutthroat with that, like in the sense of like people aren't as switched on to it. They're maybe aware of it, but people have a lot of people pleasing tendencies. And that's what I really admire about you. It's like
I've
you're more.
Never cared.
yeah, I know, but it's.
No, I'm in hospitality. So obviously I'm in the people pleasing business.
You
and I
give
don't
a lot
want,
of
and,
energy
and
to
I
it.
don't want to rub people the wrong way. I'm no longer the guy running around in the field shouting at people. That's not who I am. And that was necessary for what I was doing then. But the other side of it is I don't want to be short with people. I don't want to be upset or feel like I'm rubbing people the wrong way or they're rubbing me the wrong way. So it's understanding that. And you can only get to that point if you find a place of stillness, and then you can pull yourself away and recognize or observe what's going on. And so I'm constantly striving to get to that place and stay there.
Yeah, it's beautiful because this is why I'm so glad to have you on, because we are actually a first interview in like 6 or 7 years. But the last one you did was really vulnerable and really candid about when you came out of football, that sort of 1 or 2 years where you're sort of battling depression and kind of what a big part of why this platform's around, just that re-immersing yourself into the world. It's like you're not used to it. You've been kind of shat on by this game that even people at the top like have gone through a bumpy journey, feel the rigors of, and then it's like you've got to reincarnate yourself into society.
Yeah, recalibrate, reinvent.
It's so hard, man.
And it's not so much the way society perceives you; it's about how you perceive yourself.
Correct,
and that's the biggest struggle.
Yes,
that identity. I don't care if people know that I played soccer or not. Yeah, that wasn't the reason for my struggles, but it was all a bunch of other stuff that, I had to learn to let go of or process. We all suffer from versions of PTSD, really. Incidents happen or moments happen in your life, and, where I was too stubborn to ever go speak to a psych or confide in anyone.
Would you endorse that now for players?
Yeah, for sure. Well, your mind's everything.
Yeah, it is.
It's like you take your car to get a tune-up. Why wouldn't you speak to someone?
Yeah.
We go get massages, but you know what? I dare say you'd have less injuries if you spoke to someone about whatever struggles you may have or issues or worries, and you'd be injured less. Like it's there's science behind it.
I 100%
healthy mind is healthy body,
I 100% think back even in my day, and I was young, but I played on the back end of your career, but I think 100% in your day, it would have been looked at as a weakness to go and talk to 100%. Someone in a sporting environment.
100%.
Do you know what I mean?
I was like asked to at times, and some clubs organised it, but then those clubs turned on me as well. Like I felt betrayed, whether I was or not, I don't know. That's what I felt. It was kind of like they used that information against me. So it's precarious.
Yeah.
And sport's brutal, like life is as well, but sport especially so.
What for you was because I want to go into like some of your achievements and me watching you play, because you were a beautiful centre. You were a modern day centre back for now.
Yeah.
Because you were like, what are you, 6 foot what?
6'4".
6'4". So back then it was very abnormal to have a ball playing centre back.
Yeah.
Whereas now
I always thought
you would be worth money now.
Yeah. Well, I always played centre back like I was a number 10.
Correct. Right. But you would
encourage it, but it used to be funny, like with my teammates and so forth. Some coaches would embrace it, others wouldn't. But I'd ignore them.
But were you a midfielder first to have
I was a midfielder.
That's
as a kid.
why.
And then, at one point in time I grew very tall. Well, not very tall, but tall for a midfielder, I suppose. And then naturally sort of being a leader or understanding the game, I was an asset to the team to be playing central defence. I enjoyed playing like defensive midfield as well, but, I really enjoyed playing the game the way we all love watching it, I suppose, or at least
when it's an art form,
treating it in a beautiful way rather than just, I don't know, results driven.
Yeah.
But clearly I wanted to win just as much, if not more than anyone when I was playing, or just as much as anyone, I should say. But I like to do it in a way where it was entertaining.
Yeah, and I also think what I struggled with in my career, and Rashid Mahazi spoke about this too, it's like when it's so business driven on results, the way what affected him and myself was how people got treated based on the result.
Yeah.
It's like, man, the effort didn't change. Circumstances happen, but like people would actually treat you differently.
Yeah.
And like you've experienced that, I think, at the highest level where you've been.
That's life, man. It's not, the thing is, it's not just in sport, it's in entertainment, it's in every industry. That's the reality. Sometimes you have good leaders, managers or otherwise, bosses, and they will always give you the credit that you're due. But the reality is, man, that the world that we're in is capitalist society. It's all about results.
Yeah.
And until you step away from that, you're not going to escape it as much as you try.
That's a good point. 2005 Confederations, was it 2005, 2006 Confederations Cup?
2005, yeah.
2005. Was that, I'm not going to say the height of your career because you were doing things at club level, but from an international perspective, that's a big tournament, man.
Yeah, it was a bit of a comeback trail for me from being injured. I did my knee playing for the young Socceroos. I did my groin qualifying for the Olympics with Frank. Captain of both teams, and I missed out on 3 years of football. So when I came back, finally playing Champions League again, part of the team that qualified for the World Cup, played the Confeds Cup. Farina was still coach. So I guess the trajectory was heading that way.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't know, by the end of that season or a year later, didn't get taken to the World Cup, sort of hit the wall mentally again. I was captaining young boys.
Were you close though? Like who was ahead of you in that sense? Because
without saying names, I think at the time they took a couple players that had finished playing their season in the A-League at the time in February. So they hadn't played a competitive match in 4 or 5 months, and they were taken to the World Cup over me. I kind of blew up, like
as you would.
Standard. Told some people what I thought of them. To my own detriment.
Care to elaborate?
to my own detriment, I guess, but whatever. I was doing the best.
It's an emotional environment, man.
Yeah.
It's fucking hard.
It's hard, I don't know.
It's easy to look back on hindsight.
I had my
now.
emotions in check, but that's the way I felt at the time. I felt wronged. And that was it. I didn't play for Australia again, pretty much. And within a year of that, even though I was captaining in Switzerland, it's sort of like, not the final nail in the coffin, but I was just homesick. I'd been on the road for almost 10 years. And I asked them if they'd release me from my contract. I foregoed a lot of money.
Fuck, so you asked to leave?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Is this at Thun?
This was at Young Boys. So
I left Young Boys, another big club. Yes. They play Champions League regularly.
Yeah, so I left Thun, joined Young Boys. I just needed to not be there anymore.
So when you kind of came back around that period, were you kind of disconnected from football, or did you still have ambitions to get back to where you were?
I came back and I joined Melbourne Victory.
Yeah.
They just won, 6-0 against Adelaide.
Yeah.
And so then I was like there.
You were a marquee signing.
I was a marquee signing, 100%. Yeah, for sure. That didn't last for long, but
I've heard some great stories with you at Victory. There's legendary Ljubo stories at Victory.
I never stopped being a marquee, but I just don't. But maybe just not signing.
Yeah.
But yeah, stories. There's a few.
Yeah, well, famous one that I heard, and again, you can tell me, but good old Ernie Merrick was telling you what to do, and then I think you might have let him go. Have you captained in the Champions League? I don't think so.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been said as such.
Along those lines?
But obviously things were going down, and I didn't step back. I don't know. I was brought up to speak my truth, rightly or wrongly. I don't know if I do things differently now than I did then. I mean, I am different to what I am.
100%.
I am different today than then. But that was a time.
It's the environment that changes you.
Yeah, the environment. We're all how to say, we're all victims of our environment.
Yeah.
In one way of putting it. And that was just a time. But whatever, man. Like at the end of the day, I was running around, running around, kicking a ball. Yeah. Life goes on.
Yeah, there's nothing better. I think people shouldn't take it for granted as a job. Despite the pressures, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You get to put boots on and go kick with your mates.
Life goes on, man. Who cares?
Yeah.
So what? Some of us don't get along.
Yeah.
Nothing new there.
Yeah, it's
some of us see life differently. That's okay. What makes it interesting? Yeah. Wouldn't it be fun if we didn't have difference?
Yeah. Were you always going back into sort of the youth and where you sort of started at football? Were you always sort of touted and marked to go to the levels that you did? Were you always, because you're obviously in the youth national teams, but did you stand out as a kid, not just with your height, but technical ability?
No, like from a young age, you get picked for regional and Victorian teams, and then, Victorian Institute of Sport, Australian Institute of Sport.
Yeah.
I was captaining teams the whole way through. So I was one of the ones.
That's mad.
Yeah. The system worked for me to a degree.
Yeah. There's so much. There's so many layers to that.
Yeah, like in all kinds of beautiful ways.
You ticked you're a bit like me. You ticked every box coming through the ranks, but you maintained it up until like 25, 26, which is incredible.
Oh no, man! I kept going.
Yeah,
I went and
really
joined the Jets.
on.
I went back to Europe. I played for Hajduk Split.
Yeah, you played.
I lived out my dreams. I don't want to come across as someone who's bitter or saddened in any way. I lived out my dreams. So what? I didn't play for Australia 100 times. I played a few times.
Yeah,
I'm one of the lucky ones.
Yeah,
I played in Europe. I played Champions League. I'm one of the lucky ones. It's not lost on me.
Man, 100%.
I'm grateful.
I would kill to have your career.
I'm grateful.
Yeah.
To this day, I've got friends all over the world, speak different languages because of that,
Yeah. Do you reckon you're really good, like from a cultural perspective or culturally because of where you've lived and your experiences through football? I think it's why you're so good with people.
Yeah, 100%.
You've been in change rooms, captain change rooms with so many different cultures in there. And had to bring it together and all that sort of stuff.
Well, I figure I'm a bit of an empath as well. Like I've got to, I feel things, So if that's part of me, I can't ignore it or deny it. So I want what's best for the greater good. I feel like that's where I'm coming from most of the time. I try at least anyway.
Yeah.
So when you're in those change rooms and you've got all kinds of different cultures, you've got to look out for each other. We're all one essentially.
Yeah.
Just because you're born on that side of the fence or because some guy drew a line a long time ago doesn't mean you're any different to me.
What would you sort of, when you look back now, even though you're in some ways really well detached from football, which is what I do love because I think that's quite hard to do. Like what are some things you look back on your career that you're like, no one can take away from you and that you're still super proud of that you're able to achieve?
I guess.
Because there's a lot, man.
I don't know. Just the fact that I got to play all over the world in front of full stadiums, have the fans chant my name.
What's the best stadium you reckon you played in? Like if you
I don't know. With the national team, and I didn't play, but when we were qualifying for the World Cup in Montevideo, the stadium was electric. Playing against Hamburg in the UEFA Cup and Van der Vaart was playing for the team at the time. That was electric. Highbury with Bergkamp. Jesus. Marseille when they had Ribéry and Nasri was still playing there.
Is that the Velodrome?
Yeah.
In the Velodrome. That's a crazy stadium.
Hajduk Split. I mean, the atmosphere at the Polio was insane.
Yeah.
Like it's countless. Where do you go? At the same time, being in the Cannes Film Festival, sitting on the beach at Nikki Beach and drinking rosé with my next coach, doing a deal, and you've got Brad Pitt walking by and Jamie Foxx rapping live. That was pretty cool too. I'm not going to go into all those stories, but if it wasn't for football, I wouldn't have seen the world the way I have, and I wouldn't continue to do so to this day.
Yeah,
it's given me a lot and it hasn't stopped. So I guess that's why being back in Melbourne now, I'm embracing that side of my life again because it's something to be proud of.
Yeah. How do you, I think it's more broader than sport what you've done, but you've transformed yourself in a way for some of our listeners that are changing paths or going through stuff. For you, what was if you look back on it, because I don't know if you knew that you were doing it, but what are some great things to be able to transform yourself to get yourself into a better state of mind, better position in life?
Stay interested in life, have interests outside of football, whatever they may be. Doesn't mean you have to be studying, a degree as such at uni, but read books, read magazines, ask people what they're up to. Go to museums, check out galleries, go watch movies, go dance a night away, live life, chase experiences, because that's all we've got. And along the way, you'll stumble a million times, but that's what makes you human and that's what makes you interesting. And through that, you'll find your path. There is no right or wrong way.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that. There are many stories of people finding success at all ages, and success also differs for many people.
Yeah. Yeah. For you, what do you sort of define it as then? Because
being still.
Yeah.
Being at peace.
That's hard to do in this world.
Having a smile on my face. Caring about others.
Yeah.
If I can continually do that, then I'm in a good place. It's nice to be able to buy a meal and drive a car too, but there are many stories of people who are billionaires or singing on stage in front of 100,000 people, and later you hear that they've committed suicide because they haven't found that stillness.
Yeah.
So stillness is success in my mind.
Yeah, I agree. That's very true. Very hard to do, man. I think you've detached yourself from football so well, man. Like, I don't know how you did it for the heights, because I think it's quite hard because it's a bit of a drug.
Yeah.
Like when you're playing in front of those stadiums, you're wearing the armband.
I just got tired of dominating, man.
Yeah. And I'm so disappointed, man. For 12 years or whatever it was, I thought you sent those pizzas to Waki.
Oh, man.
And now you've told me
there's a lot of half-truths, but whatever.
There's a lot of like noise always been around you for some reason.
It's the head, man.
Yeah.
It's abnormally big.
Do you remember the interview you did with SBS ages ago? And like, I think you came out after and you spoke about like just where you're at, but you're in like a bit of a polarizing place.
Yeah.
It's quite unbelievable to like listen to you talk now.
There was a tirade. I asked them to take it down.
It's my favorite interview of all time.
Oh, man. Yep. At the time, that's what I felt.
Yeah.
And that connected with a lot of the football fraternity.
They loved it and hated it.
But so be it. There are different times where we're speaking our truth, and my truth today is different to what it was then.
Absolutely.
Also, I don't think I'm as confrontational or adverse. I don't necessarily need to take up causes in the same way I did then as I do now. I don't think it's to my benefit to be that person. Yeah. It requires a lot of energy. When you're talking about energy, it's not easy when you're living life that way. Yeah.
Well, it's been great talking to you. There's probably one or two more things. I always wanted to know who the best striker you was that you marked in your career.
Thierry Henry, Bergkamp, Ballack. But the one that none of us could get close to was Frank Ribéry. It took like 3 or 4 of us sprinting, slide tackling, and all the rest of it just to get near him. It's as if he just glided across the field. You couldn't get near him.
He's not that big though, is he?
Nah, small, but he deserved to win at one point in time. I think he was wronged. He deserved to win the Ballon d'Or at one point in time for sure. He had an incredible period in his career. He was that good.
Yeah.
He was on that, Messi, Ronaldo level there for a couple of seasons when he was at Bayern for sure, with the French national team as well.
Yeah, he's special. He's a Bayern legend.
Yeah.
Like they'll build a statue of him.
Yeah,
him and
French
Robin.
legend
They
as
were
well.
French legend. Yeah, he was big.
So he was incredible for sure. He really stands out.
From a career perspective now, we touched on it before, but I do just want to blow it up again. The Beverly, it's a new venue in Melbourne.
Yeah,
you're absolutely killing it. You're always dressed in like probably the greatest suit you'll ever see. Like if anyone ever goes there, I'm telling you now, you'll see Ljubo in a suit. Like, do say hello. But like, honestly, you are always dressed divine. But I'm keen from like, because I know you've got the hunger and you want to achieve things in your life as much as you love your stillness. Like, what's sort of your goal in the hospitality industry, or do you not look at it like that?
I guess eventually at some point in time it makes sense to be an owner again. We'll see what the future holds, but I love just being part of this group. They're so inspiring, purpose-driven. It's nice to tap into their world and their knowledge. I'm learning every day, so I'm very grateful for where I'm at and to be a part of the group. Goldfields Group, which are property developers, and Beverly is an extension of that. They've got a lot of exciting things in the mix in the future. And Marco Gattino, the owner, Lockie Thompson, the CEO, and then Cam, their business partner, Cam Northway, their business partner in Beverly. Between the three of them, I'm fortunate enough to call them my mates, and I'm able to have coffee with either of them any day of the week, and I'm very fortunate to that because unbeknownst to them, they've all become little mentors in my life, and so to be around them and tap into their success, I'm very grateful for.
Do you know what's funny? They probably don't know that you think that of them, but also in their mind, they're thinking like, man, we got Ljubo Socceroos.
Why is he getting me water?
Yeah. Like, do you know what I mean? They're thinking the other way, like, because
but I'm like, you let go of that.
You've detached from your ego, man. It's so good, bro.
It's like nothing's beneath me.
Yeah, you've really lost the ego perspective, which like a lot of. Like even me, I haven't lost that at all. Like it's a nice feeling. It's somewhat selfish, making people feel good. Yeah.
So being kind to people, you get back straight away. If you're mean, I'm pretty sure you're going to get a mean reaction. So it's pretty obvious. Be nice to people, they're nice back.
Yeah.
You don't get much from being abrasive.
Courtesy costs you nothing.
Yeah.
We got last one, Lubes, is around a constant question we're asking this, and all the listeners will know. Resilience, drive, or ambition, 3 traits where you test the success across your journey. It probably changed, but I just maybe we'll go with now, like what's sort of the one that stands out to you the most out of resilience, drive, and ambition across your journey, would you say?
Resilience.
Resilience. Yeah, you've had a lot of shit.
Yeah, resilience.
Yeah.
You can have all the drive and ambition in the world, but if you're not resilient, it's for nothing.
Yeah.
Because everyone was driven and ambitious at one stage.
Yeah.
But having the resilience to get up again and go again and go again and go again gives space for your drive and ambition to flourish.
Oh, I love it, man. I love it. It's been a pleasure having you on, man. You are definitely an idol of mine growing up. It's funny that we're friends now. It's a bit surreal at times, to be honest.
Well, I couldn't escape you.
I was like 12 when you're playing for the Socceroos.
No, I mean like even recently. Like I'm only here to get you off my back.
Yeah, get used to it. Yeah. There's a gun pointed right at him behind the other.
Key. Where's the shower?
Shower. Oh, I appreciate you, Luz. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Hope you enjoyed the show.